So I want you to imagine, just for a second, the architecture of a really massive subterranean bank vault.
Okay, like a real fortress.
Yeah, exactly. We are talking reinforced titanium walls, biometric scanners, seismic
There, the
sensors,
whole 9 yards.
right, and rows upon rows of heavy steel safety deposit boxes. Now think about why we do this. We dedicate an astonishing amount of human engineering and, honestly, just pure capital to protecting things that are fundamentally fragile.
Which is a lot of things, really.
It is. We lock up gold bars, property deeds, stock certificates, all of it, because they share this one critical vulnerability.
They can be separated from us.
Exactly. They can be lost, they can be taxed, or, they can be completely stolen.
Which really highlights a strange sort of paradox in human behavior, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, I mean, we spend our entire lives accumulating these highly physical, highly vulnerable assets, right? And then we spend a massive portion of our remaining energy just terrified of losing them.
Yeah, it's like a full-time job just worrying about your stuff.
Exactly. The things we own end up, in a way, sort of owning our peace of mind.
That is painfully true.
We build these impenetrable fortresses for our wealth, but we often leave the absolute most critical asset we possess completely unfortified.
Love totally out in the open. And, that invisible, completely unstealable asset is exactly what we're focusing on today. So, welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be here for this one. It's a really unique topic.
It is. For this discussion, we are examining a piece of source material that is, it's uniquely concise, but man, it punches far above its weight class philosophically.
Oh, absolutely. It's incredibly dense.
We're looking at a tiny excerpt from a work titled The Sovereignty of the Educated Mind. And when I tell you this is concise, I mean, we are literally analyzing just 3 sentences today.
Which sounds crazy, but there's so much there.
Right. But the mission today is to hold these 3 claims up to the light, to kind of push back on them, and to deeply analyze the worldview this text presents to you, the listener, but the absolute fundamental value of knowledge.
It's such a necessary text to examine, too, because society operates on a very, very different, highly visible scorecard.
Yeah, we like things we can measure.
Exactly. We are heavily conditioned to measure leverage by looking at, the car in the driveway or the job title or the quarterly earnings report.
Tangible stuff.
Right. And this text just completely dismisses all of that. It demands that we look at the invisible, unquantifiable architecture of the mind, and the claims it makes are almost startlingly absolute.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the very first claim the author makes.
Let's do it.
It reads, quote, "Education is the best friend."
Such a wild way to phrase it.
It is. And I want to pause right there.
Yeah.
Because if you survey 100 people and ask them to define education, almost no one, and I mean no one, uses the framework of friendship.
No, not at all. It's usually seen as a burden, or at least a utility.
Exactly. We typically define education as a tool, like it's a hammer you use to build a career, or, it's a very expensive key you purchase from a university just to unlock a specific socioeconomic door.
Yeah, it's highly transactional for most people.
Right, so to call it a friend is a huge pivot.
What's fascinating here is how the author deliberately rejects that whole utilitarian definition.
Yeah.
By framing education as a friend, and not just a friend, but the best friend, the text shifts learning from this transactional chore into a lifelong internal relationship.
A relationship with your own mind, essentially.
Right. Think about the psychological function of a best friend. Like, when you are isolated, a friend provides context.
They ground you.
Exactly. They offer a reliable sounding board. They help you process reality so you don't feel entirely alone in your experience of it.
Well, I want to test that logic for a second, because if education is an internal friend, we really have to define what education actually means in this specific context.
That's fair. It can't just be trivia.
Right, because I don't think the author is suggesting that, memorizing the periodic table is going to somehow comfort you during a brutal personal crisis.
No, definitely not. Knowing the atomic weight of carbon isn't a shoulder to cry on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I read this as education being the actual framework of how you process the world.
Yes, the lens through which you see things.
Think about it. If you are sitting completely alone in an empty room, an uneducated mind might just experience, pure boredom or anxiety.
It's just a vacuum.
Right, but an educated mind, a mind that's furnished with history, philosophy, maybe a basic understanding of psychology or physics, that mind isn't empty at all.
It's populated.
Exactly. It is having this silent, continuous conversation with the environment.
Hmm.
It's observing, categorizing, and finding meaning in the quiet.
And that internal dialogue, that's precisely the mechanism of the friendship the author is talking about.
It keeps you company.
Yes, it is a psychological defense against the profound loneliness of the human condition. When you understand the historical cycles of human struggle or, even just the biological mechanics of your own anxiety, you aren't just suffering blindly.
Right. You have a context for it.
Exactly. You can contextualize your pain. Your mind provides a buffer. Your physical friends might not be reachable. Your family might be asleep. But the intellectual architecture you've built inside your own head, that is always awake.
It's always online.
It never leaves the room.
And taking that a step further, the beauty of this specific friend is its absolute total portability.
Oh, that's a great point.
You could be stripped of every tangible asset you own, right? You could be stranded in an airport for 3 days without your luggage, or dealing with a massive professional failure where you lose your office.
Yep, the physical stuff can vanish in a second.
But the education you possess, that is the only companion that requires zero luggage. It incurs no travel fees, and it cannot be confiscated by custom.
It crosses every border with you.
And I think this is a crucial caveat we need to mention. Friendships require maintenance.
Right, absolutely. They aren't just set and forget.
Right. You don't just passively acquire a best friend in high school and then ignore them for a decade and expect them to be there for you.
That is a critical distinction. An educated mind is not a static database of facts you just downloaded in your 20s.
It's not a hard drive.
No, it is an active algorithm. It requires you to constantly feed it new inputs. You have to challenge its assumptions and really exercise its faculties.
Got to keep the conversation going.
Exactly. If you stop reading, if you stop engaging with difficult ideas, that internal friend just withers away. The word sovereignty in the title of the text implies a kingdom, right?
Yeah, a domain of control.
And a kingdom must be actively governed and maintained. It doesn't run itself.
Which provides a perfect bridge to the second sentence of the excerpt. So we've established this internal, deeply personal relationship with education.
Right, the friend inside your head.
The friend that helps you process reality. But the text doesn't let us stay in isolation. It forces us out into the public square. It shifts from how you interact with yourself to how the outside world reacts to you.
Moving from the internal sanctuary out to the external arena.
Exactly. So the text states, quote, "An educated person is respected everywhere." And honestly, I'm going to push back on this heavily.
I figured you might. It's a strong statement.
It is. Because everywhere is an incredibly dangerous absolute word.
It leaves no room for exceptions.
Right. If we just look at human history, or heck, even just watch the evening news tonight, we see profound anti-intellectualism all over the place.
Oh, without a doubt.
We see societies where educated people are mocked, marginalized, or literally exiled because their knowledge threatens the status quo.
History is full of that.
So I have to ask you, how can the author possibly justify the word everywhere? It seems factually incorrect.
Well, it is a sweeping claim, definitely. And your skepticism is totally warranted if, and this is the key, if we confuse respect with popularity or affection.
Ah, okay, so we're defining respect differently here.
Exactly. The text is not claiming that an educated person is universally liked or that they will be met with thunderous applause in every single room they enter.
They aren't a celebrity.
Right. It is pointing to the underlying, inescapable mechanics of competence. When the author says respected everywhere, they are referring to the universal human instinct to defer to problem solvers when survival or efficiency is actually on the line.
I see the distinction you're making.
Think about it.
Let's look at this through the lens of evolutionary biology, actually.
Okay, yeah, let's go there.
For an early human tribe to survive a brutal winter or a severe drought, they couldn't just rely on the person who was merely the most charming or the one who told the best jokes around the fire.
Or even the physically strongest, necessarily.
Right. The tribe fundamentally had to respect the person who understood the migratory patterns of the animals or who knew the agricultural cycles.
The one with the applied knowledge.
Yes. We are hardwired on a species level to recognize and rely upon the person who reduces our collective risk.
Exactly the mechanism I'm pointing to. Now, translate that evolutionary hardwiring to the modern world. Let's say you are sitting on a board of directors, or you are part of a high-stakes surgical team, or you are just trying to navigate some complex legal crisis.
High-pressure environments.
Very high pressure. The room might be completely full of massive egos, impressive job titles, and immense wealth.
People who are used to being in charge.
Right. But the second a catastrophic problem arises, a problem that none of those superficial assets can solve, the social hierarchy instantly reorganizes itself.
The hierarchy collapses toward competence.
Exactly. The superficial titles just evaporate. The person who possesses the actual knowledge, that deep structural understanding of how to fix the broken system, they suddenly command the entire room.
Because they are the only way out.
Right. The respect they receive in that moment isn't born out of politeness. It isn't even about liking the person. It is born out of absolute necessity. People might resent the educated person. They might deeply envy them, but they cannot ignore them.
That makes the concept of a universal currency much clearer.
Yeah, think of it as a currency that never loses its exchange rate.
Well, think about fiat currency, right? The literal paper money you have in your wallet.
Right.
It only has value because a specific government says it does. If you cross a border and try to buy dinner with a foreign currency, the restaurant owner will just reject it.
It's useless paper over there.
Exactly. The value is geo-fenced by political borders. And the same goes for corporate title.
Absolutely.
You might be, a senior vice president at a specific firm in New York, and people bow down to you. But if you walk into a crowded market in rural Tokyo, that title buys you absolutely nothing.
Huh.
The authority is localized.
But the sovereignty of an educated mind is not fiat currency, it is intrinsic.
It doesn't need a government backing it.
No, because an educated mind possesses the algorithm for adaptability. If you drop a genuinely educated person into a completely foreign culture, they don't just stand there demanding the culture adapt to them.
They don't flash their business card.
Right. They use their foundational skills, their critical thinking, their pattern recognition, their emotional intelligence. They use all of that to observe, learn the new rules, and figure out how to successfully navigate that space.
And that underlying cognitive machinery that crosses borders seamlessly.
Exactly.
So the respect the author is talking about isn't some magical aura you just walk around with. It's the undeniable output of your adaptability.
Yes. It's the results you generate.
You don't even need to speak a language fluently to demonstrate to the locals that you are observant, that you're respectful of their systems, and that you are capable of learning. That translates anywhere.
It's a universal language of its own.
That is what gives the mind its sovereignty. It doesn't need permission from a local authority to be valuable. It simply is valuable by virtue of its function.
Which brings us to a really fascinating threshold in the text. We've explored how education travels across geographical space, right? This whole idea of it functioning as an intrinsic, borderless currency.
Right, moving from place to place.
But then the author demands we look at a completely different dimension. The text transitions from how education travels across space to how it travels across time.
Across the entire human lifespan. And I have to say, it delivers what I consider the most aggressive, almost combative claim in the entire excerpt.
It really doesn't pull any punches here.
No, it doesn't. The final sentence reads, quote, "Education beats the beauty and the youth."
It is a definitive, uncompromising declaration of victory.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. The author doesn't say education is, more important than beauty.
Or a good alternative to youth.
Right. The author uses the word beats. They are deliberately setting up a zero-sum competition here, a fight.
A winner and a loser.
Exactly. And to understand why the author feels the need to declare a winner, we really have to look at the economic reality of how society values human beings today.
We have to look at what we actually prize.
Because we live in a culture that treats youth and physical beauty as the ultimate forms of leverage. Period.
It's undeniable.
Entire billion-dollar industries, cosmetics, plastic surgery, wellness tech, they are built entirely around the desperate attempt to just freeze time.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to examine why that desperation even exists in the first place.
Right. Why are we so obsessed with it?
From a purely biological standpoint, youth and physical symmetry are proxies for health and vitality. Our brains are ancient, and they are wired to respond to those specific signals.
It's just hardwired survival instinct.
Exactly. Consequently, society rewards youth heavily. It opens doors, it commands immediate, visceral attention, and honestly, it forgives a multitude of mistakes.
People are definitely more lenient when you're young.
They are. The author isn't denying that youth is powerful. If youth wasn't incredibly powerful, it wouldn't even be a worthy opponent in this philosophical matchup.
It wouldn't be worth bringing up to say it beats it.
Right. It's the reigning champion in society's eyes.
But the author is pointing out a catastrophic flaw in relying on that specific leverage.
The time limit.
Yes. If we look at youth and beauty from a purely financial perspective, They are the ultimate depreciating assets.
That is the perfect way to describe it.
Think about driving a luxury sports car off the dealership lot. The exact second those tires hit the public street, the car loses a huge percentage of its value.
Immediately, just poof, gone.
Right. And every mile you drive, every day the sun beats down on the paint, entropy is just pulling it apart. You can spend an absolute fortune on maintenance. You can keep it in a climate-controlled garage. You can polish it every Sunday.
But you're fighting physics.
You are ultimately fighting a losing battle against physics. Every single day you wake up, your biological leverage decreases.
It is a game where the probability of losing approaches 100% the longer you play it. Everyone ages.
Everyone.
But the author contrasts this depreciating biological asset with the cognitive asset of education. Education operates on the mechanics of compounding interest.
It builds on itself.
Exactly. Every difficult book you wrestle with, every failure you analyze and actually learn from, every complex system you finally understand, these don't replace your previous knowledge. They stack directly on top of it. They integrate.
So the principal balance just keeps growing and growing.
Yes. And more importantly, the relationships between the data points grow. You start seeing connections between, say, economics and psychology, or between ancient history and modern technology.
You see the matrix, basically.
Right. Your ability to synthesize information just accelerates over time. So while time is the absolute mechanism of destruction for physical beauty, time is the essential, indispensable ingredient for education to actually transform into wisdom.
Wow. Yeah.
You cannot rush compounding interest, and you cannot rush the deep pattern recognition that only comes from decades of an educated mind observing the world.
That is the fundamental difference, isn't it? If you rely entirely on the leverage of your youth to navigate society, you are playing a game with a relentless, unstoppable ticking clock.
You will eventually age out of your primary currency.
You have to. But if you rely on the sovereignty of an educated mind, the game flips entirely in your favor. Every single day you are alive, your leverage actually increases.
Because you've seen more, you've solved more.
Right. Your capacity to solve complex problems, to offer unique insights, to guide the younger generations, that capacity peaks much, much later in life. You become the person the tribe turns to when the storm hits.
And this raises a really important question regarding how we allocate our daily energy.
What we focus on.
Yes, because the text is not some puritanical demand to ignore your health or to stop appreciating physical beauty.
Right. It's not saying never wash your face again.
No, not at all. It is a warning about portfolio management, to use an economic term.
I like that.
The author is essentially saying, do not invest the majority of your life savings into an asset that is statistically guaranteed to default.
It's bad business.
It's terrible business. By stating that education definitively beats beauty and youth, the text urges us to place our heaviest bets on the one asset that pays dividends all the way to the final day of our lives.
So what does this all mean for us today? We've taken a text that honestly takes about 10 seconds to read aloud, and we've found this deeply cohesive, highly demanding philosophy of living embedded right inside it.
It's a complete operating system.
It really is.
Yeah.
If we synthesize the core mechanics for you listening right now, it reveals a pretty clear roadmap for building a sovereign life. First, education is your most reliable internal mechanism for processing reality. It is the portable best friend that prevents you from being consumed by the isolation of your own mind.
Keeps you company.
Second, it is an intrinsic, borderless currency that commands deference and respect by offering the world undeniable competence when it matters most.
It survives any cultural shift.
Exactly. And finally, it is the only asset class available to humanity that genuinely defeats the erosion of time.
And to you, the listener, I would offer this perspective as well. The process of truly educating yourself is full of friction.
It's not easy.
No, it is rarely comfortable. Whether you are struggling to comprehend a dense research paper or trying to adapt to a massive technological shift in your industry, or even simply confronting a personal bias you didn't realize you had, that mental fatigue is incredibly real.
It's exhausting sometimes.
It is. But whenever you feel overwhelmed by the sheer effort it takes to learn something new, you must remind yourself of the stakes. You are not just memorizing trivia. You are actively constructing the vault. You are building an internal architecture that no one can ever dismantle, tax, or age you out of.
You are building sovereignty, Which really brings us full circle to that titanium bank vault we visualized at the very beginning of this deep dive.
Protecting the right things.
Exactly. We spend an incalculable amount of time and money worrying about the locks on our physical doors. We obsess over the security of our investment portfolios, and we pour so much energy into the anti-aging serum sitting on our bathroom counters right now.
Guarding the fragile things.
We meticulously guard the things that are scientifically destined to fade. But I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder today, something to really challenge how you allocate your time this week.
Let's hear it.
If the educated mind is truly the only companion that will outlast our youth, survive our failures, and travel absolutely everywhere with us, are we spending even a fraction of the time nurturing that permanent friendship today as we do, chasing the things that will inevitably rust, wrinkle, and disappear?
It's a heavy question.
It is. Keep that question in mind. Until next deep dive.